Walking. Yeah, we are starting with walking. Look, someone has to go first, and it might as well be the option that has been in the game since before Minecraft had a hunger bar, a crafting system, or any real reason to go anywhere. Walking moves you at 4.317 blocks per second. That is the number. That is the whole feature. Press W, go somewhere slowly, try not to fall in a hole. The one genuine advantage walking has over everything else on this list is that it does not drain your hunger bar. Just walking around normally costs you nothing, which makes it the only free movement option in the game. The second you start jumping, hunger ticks. So if you are somehow down to your last loaf of bread in the middle of a desert, walk. Do not sprint. Do not jump. Just walk and accept your situation. Now, sprinting is what walking becomes the moment you have food, which for most players happens within the first 15 minutes of a world. Hold the sprint key while moving and you jump to 5.612 blocks per second, roughly 30% faster. Your FOV widens slightly, particles kick up at your feet, and you actually feel like you are going somewhere. A few things cut sprinting off without warning: hitting a block at more than 8 degrees, attacking a mob, sneaking, or dropping below 6 hunger bars. The blindness effect also stops it, which is honestly the least of your problems if you have blindness. The combat bonus is worth knowing too. The first hit on a mob while sprinting deals bonus knockback, which is a free mechanic most players use instinctively without ever realizing it is a thing. Sprint jumping is where ground movement quietly becomes impressive. Average speed hits 7.127 blocks per second faster than sprinting. And here is the part that sounds wrong until you think about it. Sprint jumping costs less hunger per block than pure sprinting. Exhaustion only accumulates while your feet are on the ground, and sprint jumping means most of your distance is covered in the air, so it is faster and cheaper at the same time. This mechanic is either genius game design or Mojang forgot to fix it. Honestly, I'm still not sure which. Under a 2-block high ceiling, it gets even better. Sprint jumping while repeatedly clipping your head on a low ceiling pushes you to around 9.7 blocks per second. On ice under that same ceiling, faster. And in the nether with Soul Speed 3 boots and a Speed 2 effect running over soul sand, you are hitting 12.69 blocks per second. Nearly as fast as a top-tier horse. On your legs. On soul sand. We can probably blame Notch for the fact that this is possible. Then, there is sneaking. The art of moving as slowly as you possibly can while technically still moving. 1.295 blocks per second, which is slower than swimming upstream and a personal insult from Mojang every time you use it. And yet sneaking might be the most important movement tool on this entire list, for one reason. You cannot walk off a ledge while sneaking. That is the whole feature. If you have ever built anything above ground level, sneaking is why you still have a world. Swift Sneak 3 from Ancient City Loot bumps it to 75% of walking speed, which is still slow, but at least demonstrates effort. Java players also get the Skulk Stealth bonus, where sneaking prevents triggering nearby sensors. This matters enormously in Ancient Cities because the alternative is triggering a warden, and nobody wants that. Sneaking was clearly added at 3 AM by someone who just wanted to stop falling off things. And honestly, fair enough. Minecart, the original Minecraft transportation system and one of the oldest features in the entire game. Before horses, before boats mattered, before Elytra existed, the minecart was the answer to long-distance travel. It has been here since the very beginning, and it deserves some respect for that, even if everything has passed it by since. Minecarts run on rails crafted from iron and hit a hard speed cap of exactly 8 blocks per second on powered rails. Those powered rails require gold and redstone, which in the early game is a painful investment. You are spending resources that could go toward actual progression on a rail system, and you will feel that cost. The payoff is a completely automated, hands-free point-to-point system that runs without you doing anything once it is built. For long commutes between your base and your mining operation, being able to just sit in a cart and look at your phone for 30 seconds is legitimately useful. The variant lineup is solid. Chest minecarts handle item transport between locations automatically when combined with hoppers. Hopper minecarts are the foundation of basically every serious item sorting system in the game, and if you have ever built a proper automatic farm, you have used at least 4 of these. TNT minecarts exist for when a situation requires immediate escalation. Furnace minecarts are technically a thing that exists, and I have never once seen a player use one sincerely. The honest problem is that a boat on blue ice moves at over 72 blocks per second. The minecart moves at 8, so as a travel tool, the return on all that iron and gold is genuinely not competitive anymore. Where the minecart stays completely relevant is item logistics, automated farms, and AFK travel where you just need to get somewhere without paying attention. That use case is not going anywhere. This mechanic is either a beloved piece of Minecraft history or an expensive way to go 8 blocks per second. Probably both. Boat. The boat deserves a full redemption arc, and I am going to give it one. This thing went from being one of the most awkward vehicles in the game, with steering that felt like piloting a shopping cart on ice in the worst possible way, to being the foundation of the fastest overland travel method most players will ever build. It did not even change that much. The ice changed. The boat just showed up. On water, boats move at 8 blocks per second. Tied with powered minecarts, no rail investment required, works on any river or ocean in the world. Craft 5 wood planks together and you have one. Day 1, accessible, no hunger cost, and perfectly competent for crossing any water body you encounter early game. On packed ice, you are hitting 40 blocks per second. On blue ice, over 72. Now route that blue ice highway through the Nether, where every block traveled equals 8 overworld blocks in distance, and you are covering the equivalent of nearly 600 overworld blocks per second. This is the actual meta for long-distance travel in established worlds, the reason experienced players always build Nether highways, and one of those systems that sounds completely unhinged until you use it once and immediately start tearing up your old infrastructure. Boats also protect passengers from fall damage while seated inside, which opens up some creative applications. Boat on ice also works in the Nether, which Notch definitely did not intend when he added boats in 2009. Early game, genuinely useful. Late game, meta-defining. The fastest ground vehicle in Minecraft is a wooden boat, and that is just a fact. Saddled pig. Look, I did not design this. Dinnerbone did. Back in 2012, when horses were still just a mod and Minecraft needed some kind of rideable mob, Dinnerbone added pig riding and then actually tweeted about it. Direct quote, "I went with carrots and the future of pig-based transportation has arrived. This future smells funny." He said that, on purpose, about a pig with a saddle on it. Here is how it works. You put a saddle on a pig, hold a carrot on a stick to steer it, and you travel it somewhere between 2 and 5 blocks per second, depending on how cooperative your pig feels. The carrot on a stick degrades with use, and when it breaks, the pig immediately stops listening to you, which is the most accurate simulation of losing leverage in a negotiation that this game has ever produced. There is no armor slot, no chest, no enchantment support, and no meaningful reason to use this over anything else on this list. For a period of Minecraft history, this was the pinnacle of mounted transportation. Players just had to accept that their fastest available mount was a medium-sized pink animal with no particular interest in going anywhere quickly. Sprinting with a speed 2 effect is almost as fast as a fully boosted pig, which is not a compliment to sprinting. One of the most useless transportation methods Mojang has ever kept in the game, and yet, somehow, iconic. Saddled Strider. The Strider was added in the Nether update, which was genuinely one of the best updates Minecraft has ever received, and the Strider was a solid part of it. It fills a specific and real need. A way to cross the vast lava lakes of the Nether without building a cobblestone bridge for 45 minutes or falling to your death on attempt number 3. Saddle a Strider, hold a warped fungus on a stick to steer, and you move across lava at up to 4 blocks per second. Going with the lava current gives a slight speed bonus. Going against it slows you down. The Strider handles this without complaint because it is completely comfortable in an environment that would instantly destroy most other mobs. That is a genuinely useful and well-designed feature for Nether travel, especially before you have established a proper highway system. The problem is what happens outside that environment. Take a Strider onto land and it turns purple, starts visibly shivering, and its movement speed becomes painful. It is not just slower, it looks miserable, because it is. Striders need warmth. They need lava, and on land they are just a sad purple rectangle that reminds you made a bad routing decision. Zombified piglins have a 1 in 30 chance to spawn riding a Strider in the wild, which is chaotic and entertaining the first time. Baby Striders occasionally spawn on top of adult Striders, which is adorable and accomplishes nothing. For Nether lava crossings, the Strider is exactly what it needs to be. For everything else, take the boat. Camel. The Camel was added in the Trails and Tales update in 1.20 and immediately became one of the better land mounts in the game, and I want to be clear about why, because it goes beyond just the speed number. 8 blocks per second baseline puts it tied with boats on water and powered minecarts. That is already competitive, but the Camel has a dash mechanic that neither of those have. Your XP bar swaps to a charge meter, you hold jump to build it up, and the Camel launches forward. It is great for closing gaps, clearing obstacles, and just feels satisfying to use at the right moment. This mechanic was clearly designed by someone who actually thought about what mounted travel should feel like, which puts it above about half the things Mojang has added. The height advantage is the feature that does not get enough attention. Camels are tall enough that zombies, hoglins, piglins, vindicators, silverfish, and endermites literally cannot reach a player sitting on one. They just stand there swinging at camel legs while you do nothing. Spiders, slimes, and wolves can still reach you because they jump, but the majority of standard overworld threats are completely shut out. In survival mode, that is enormous. enormous. And then there is the 2-player capacity. Driver up front, passenger in the back, both doing 8 blocks per second while most hostile mobs stare upward in confusion. On a multiplayer server, this is genuinely one of the best early to mid-game travel options available. Spawns in desert villages, likes cactus, has a dash, carries 2 players, keeps mobs off you. The Camel is one of those features that makes you realize Mojang occasionally just nails it. Horse. The horse has been in the game since Java 1.6, the horse update, developed with help from Dr. Jark, the creator of the Mo Creatures mod, who had basically built a working horse system years before Mojang got around to it. It is the largest mount family in the game and covers more variety than any other single entry on this list. So let's go through all of them properly. Regular horses have a speed range of 4.74 to 14.23 blocks per second, depending on the individual animal, health ranging from 15 to 30 HP, and variable jump height, all 3 stats assigned at birth and unchangeable by feeding or training. The average horse runs around 9.5 blocks per second, which already beats most of this list. The counterintuitive truth about horse breeding is that wild horses will always have the highest ceiling. Breeding averages both parents' stats, which means every generation you breed is mathematically less likely to produce an extreme outlier. The fastest horse you will ever own almost certainly spawned naturally in some plains biome, not in your carefully managed breeding program. Finding that horse is a whole side quest and a genuinely fun one. Taming is simple. Keep mounting until hearts appear, then add a saddle. Horse armor goes from leather up to diamond, and provides damage reduction while riding. Chainmail horse armor exists exclusively as loot and cannot be crafted, which feels like something Mojang added at 3 AM and never followed up on. Horses cannot swim while ridden and will dismount you in deep water, so plan your routes around bodies of water unless you enjoy unexpected swimming sections. Donkeys are the practical version. Speed caps at 7.525 blocks per second, slower than most horses, but donkeys carry a chest with 15 inventory slots. That is a significant amount of mobile storage on long exploration runs, and the trade of top speed for carrying capacity is one a lot of players are happy to make. Breed a donkey with a horse and you get a mule, which combines the chest from the donkey side with speed stats averaged from both parents. A fast horse plus a donkey equals a fast mule with storage. A slow horse plus a donkey equals a slow donkey with longer ears and a higher crafting cost. Mules cannot breed further, which is accurate to real life, and one of the few times Mojang has leaned into biological realism. Zombie horses spent most of Minecraft's history as a feature that existed, but could not be obtained in survival without commands, which made them basically a creative mode flex for years. The Mounts of Mayhem update in Holiday 2025 finally changed that. Zombie horses now spawn in survival and can be tamed and ridden. Fixed health at 25 HP, higher than average. They float in water rather than sinking, take half fall damage compared to most mobs, and burn in sunlight unless covered with horse armor. Cannot be bred, immune to poison and regeneration for standard undead reasons. The fact that it took over a decade to make these obtainable in survival is exactly the kind of thing we can blame Notch for, even though Notch left in 2014. Skeleton horses do not just appear, they arrive. Lightning strikes a horse during a thunderstorm, it transforms, and suddenly 4 skeleton horses with fully armored skeleton jockeys carrying enchanted bows are trying to end your evening. Defeat the jockeys and those 4 horses are automatically tamed. No repeated mounting, no patience required, just add saddles. They will not drown at any depth, are immune to poison, and are healed by harm potions like any undead mob. They despawn quickly if you do not interact with them after the jockeys are down, so move fast. The skeleton trap is one of the most underrated events in the game and produces free tamed mounts if you survive it, which is not guaranteed because enchanted bows hurt. Though, zombie horses still burn in sunlight and skeleton horses despawn if you look at them wrong. So, you know, no one's perfect. The whole horse family covers basically every mounted travel need from early exploration to full endgame. Find a fast wild horse first. Everything else branches from there. If you're getting value out of this video, subscribing is completely free and it genuinely helps the channel. The button is right there. 2 seconds. Nautilus. The Mounts of Mayhem update in Holiday 2025 was a good update. I want to say that plainly, because Mojang does not always get credit when they actually solve a problem that has existed in the game for years. The Nautilus solves a problem that has existed since oceans were added. They are enormous, they contain interesting things worth exploring, and they have been actively trying to drown you the entire time you spend in them. Nautiluses spawn in all ocean biomes in groups of 1 to 3, between Y levels 38 and 58. Taming requires pufferfish, with a 1 in 3 chance per feeding, so bring a few. Once tamed, they follow you around until you add a saddle. You can breed 2 tame nautiluses with pufferfish to produce a baby, which means building a nautilus operation is completely possible if that sounds appealing to you. For some of you, it absolutely will. The headline mechanic is Breath of the Nautilus. While mounted, your oxygen bar pauses entirely. No respiration helmet, no water-breathing potion, no hunting for air pockets. You just ride the Nautilus and breathe like a person who is not currently underwater. For early game ocean exploration, before you have set up any enchanting infrastructure, this changes everything. Shipwreck runs, ocean monument clearing, buried treasure hunting, all of it becomes dramatically less stressful when drowning is simply not on the table. The dash ability adds burst speed on top of the baseline 6.5 blocks per second, and Nautilus armor in copper through netherite tiers can be found in shipwrecks, ocean ruins, and buried treasure chests. The zombie Nautilus is the same mob wearing the consequences of existing in a hostile ocean biome. It spawns already mounted by a drowned, which is immediately a problem, especially if that drowned brought a trident. Coral variants appear specifically in warm oceans. The path to owning one is straightforward. Unalive the drowned rider, wait for the zombie Nautilus to go neutral, then tame it with pufferfish using the same mechanic. Identical riding experience, identical Breath of the Nautilus effect, same saddle and armor support. Cannot breed, no baby variant, burns in sunlight unless armored, and smite applies as expected for any undead mob. The zombie Nautilus is harder to acquire and arguably looks better. It is for players who want the same functionality but prefer doing things the more dangerous way, which describes a significant portion of this audience. Both variants ocean certified. The ocean actually has a good mount now. It only took about 15 years. Swimming. Swimming is one of those mechanics that most players treat as an inconvenience between actual travel, and for basic unassisted swimming, that assessment is fair. Surface swimming without sprint is 2.20 blocks per second. Underwater without sprint is 1.81 going downstream and 0.39 going upstream, which is slower than sneaking and one of the most disrespectful numbers in Minecraft's entire codebase. Sprint swimming without enchants gets you to 3.92 blocks per second. Depth Strider 3 bumps that to 5.305. Still not impressive, but functional. Dolphin's Grace is where swimming becomes a legitimate travel method that most players have never intentionally used. Swim near dolphins and they passively grant their effect, which takes you to 55.6 blocks per second through water. Add a speed 2 potion and that becomes 74.1 blocks per second. That is faster than Elytra with firework rockets on flat terrain, in water, using your arms. This mechanic exists in vanilla Minecraft, and a large percentage of players have gone their entire Minecraft careers without ever building around it. The underwater tunnel meta exists because of this exact combination. Blue ice ceiling, sprint swimming, Dolphin's Grace active, and you move through water faster than most people move through air in this game. Sprint swimming also lets you pass through 1-block gaps by triggering the crawl mechanic, which has more useful applications than it seems. Going upstream remains an embarrassment to the concept of movement, and we do not need to discuss it further. With dolphins in the right setup, genuinely fast. Without them, passable for short distances. The dolphins make or break the whole category. Ender Pearl. The Ender Pearl is not really a sustained travel method in the traditional sense. It is a situational tool that covers short distances instantly, bypasses terrain that would take minutes to navigate otherwise, and costs you 2.5 hearts every single time you use it. Without exception, no matter how convenient the landing spot looked. Throw it roughly 15 degrees above the horizon and you cover about 23 blocks per second of effective distance per throw. Not competitive with horses or boats over long distances, but for gap crossing, height gaining, wall bypassing moments, nothing else in the game touches it. Pearls go through fence gaps between iron bars into spaces that are physically too small to walk through. This makes them indispensable in specific combat and exploration situations where every other movement option is blocked. Mid-game combat with Endermen fills your inventory with them naturally, which transitions Ender Pearls from an emergency option into a routine part of the kit. For the people who want to take this to its absolute limit, the Psycraft Pearl Cannon is a survival achievable TNT-based launcher that fires the player via Ender Pearl at speeds that make distance meaningless as a concept. It holds the record for the fastest movement speed ever recorded in survival mode. It was clearly designed by people who looked at Ender Pearls and asked what would happen if you thought about them too hard for too long. The 5 damage on landing is non-negotiable. The Pearl does not care about your plans, your health bar, or the timing of your arrival. Chaotic certified. Invaluable in the right hands. A constant source of self-inflicted damage in everyone else's. Happy Ghast. The Happy Ghast is one of the most genuinely interesting additions Minecraft has received in years, and I want to give it the explanation it deserves. Revealed at Minecraft Live in March 2025 and added in the Chase the Skies update that summer, the Happy Ghast is the first rideable flying mob in vanilla Minecraft history. Not in a mod, not through commands, vanilla survival. That is a significant milestone for a game that has had Elytra as the only real flight option for almost a decade. Getting one takes some setup. In Soul Sand Valley structures in the Nether, you can find a dried ghast block, or craft one from bone blocks and ghast tears. Bring it to the overworld, place it in water, and wait 20 minutes for it to transform into a ghastling. Feed the ghastling snowballs to speed up growth, because without that, you are watching a small floating ghost slowly become a larger floating ghost over 20 minutes while wondering if this was worth the trip to the Nether. Once grown, craft a harness from leather, glass, and wool, equip it, and you are airborne. Up to 4 players can ride simultaneously, with the first player on controlling direction and movement. On a multiplayer server, flying across a world with 3 other people on the same mob is a genuinely new gameplay experience that Minecraft has never offered before. If you dismount mid-air, you land safely on top of the ghast because it functions as a solid aerial platform. This is intentional. Mojang specifically designed the Happy Ghast to work as a floating construction platform in survival mode, letting players build at height without switching to creative, which is a feature large-scale builders have wanted for years. Default flight speed is slow. This is a scenic glide, not a speed tool, and it is not trying to compete with Elytra. What it does instead is transport groups of players, ferry mobs and boats suspended beneath it via leads, and provide a stable aerial work platform. Cannot be bred, heals at cloud level or in rain, and unlike the regular ghast, it cannot shoot fireballs and is not immune to fire, which is worth knowing before you take it near lava. The first flying mount in vanilla Minecraft history. That alone makes it worth having. Elytra. Yeah, last on the list. You already know why. The Elytra is found in end ships attached to end cities in the outer islands of the end. Not every end city has a ship. You explore until you find one, which can take a while depending on your luck, and a shulker guards the item frame it sits in because Mojang wanted to make sure you earned it. Equip it in the chestplate slot, and you give up all chest armor protection in exchange for flight. No defense, full mobility. That trade is completely worth it, but it is a real trade and it matters in combat situations. 432 durability means 7 minutes and 12 seconds of glide time without enchantments. Unbreaking 3 extends that to 28 minutes and 48 seconds. Mending on top means you are effectively flying indefinitely as long as you are collecting experience, which you are constantly. The Elytra goes to a tattered texture at 1 durability and stops functioning entirely, which is the game's way of reminding you that enchanting tables exist for a reason. Fireworks push you to 33.5 blocks per second per boost, chainable across any terrain or distance. That already beats everything on this list except boat on blue ice. Steep dive angles push you towards 78 blocks per second horizontally. Underwater with Dolphin's Grace, you can hit 144. In rain with a Riptide 3 Trident as a launch, 110 blocks per second, at which point chunk loading becomes a real concern, and the game starts having a conversation with your hardware. The death message for hitting a wall at full speed reads, "Experienced kinetic energy," which is genuinely one of the best death messages in the game and something you will see personally at least once. Now hold the complete picture. Walking is 4.317 blocks per second. Elytra with Riptide and Rain is 110. That is the entire arc of this list. From pressing W in a dirt house with nothing in your inventory to flying across a stormy sky so fast the world can barely load around you. That progression is Minecraft, and the Elytra is where it ends up. This one was not Notch. This was Jeb. And the difference shows. Endgame certified. Speed certified. The king of Minecraft travel. Nothing else is close. If you enjoyed the video, memberships are open and every tier helps keep content like this coming. Link is in the description. See you in the next one.